Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video, we are continuing with volume number 20. And this video, I really wanted to go outside the box normally as far as how I do them on one system. Now we're seeing such an extrapolation of new robots hitting the market. We're seeing a lot more YouTube content creators posting more videos. So in this video, I've put together a compilation that not only defines what I've discussed in previous videos, but you are going to see some things that once again is going to raise some serious eyebrows to most of you. Guys, please be careful of what you watch on social media. Let's jump right in.
Side of this part because the electrical is just a lot of tedious, repetitive, boring work.
I just want to introduce what you guys are watching. This is a YouTube content creator mimicking yet again another YouTube content creator's CNC plasma design. As a matter of fact, I actually did a video on the content creator of the original designer of this plasma system, yet I always get told, you know, these videos are such a big help, and it's so interesting to me to see how many content creators mimic what they see regardless of doing their own research. And unfortunately, I know this happens once again with all of these audiences that are following these content creators. So let's see where this goes, and you guys will pick up what I'm putting down.
Let's be honest. Everyone only really wants the schematics anyways, which I don't have. So you'll just have to subscribe to find out.
So this is a new tactic the content creator is using. We see that he's telling you essentially in order to get the correct wiring diagram, you should subscribe to become part of his audience, which of course would be an even trade in the sense that if he was providing proper information, it would make sense. Of course, that's not the case. Stay tuned and let's see where this goes. Here he explains where he bought wire ferrules, and now he's going to install the ferrules, and of course he's building these incorrectly because of course nothing is using the proper double shielded cable. There is no grounding done. He is essentially just wiring it.
I am attempting to make the wire connectors. The only problem with this is I,
like many of you, cannot believe we're witnessing anyone, let alone a YouTube content creator, attempting to solder installed ferrules onto a GX16 aviation connector. Guys, and I'm speaking to my novices out there, you never ever solder a ferrule onto any aviation connector that requires soldering. Only bare copper tin conductors get soldered onto these connectors. This is just how frightening we have become with these content creators attempting to create nothing but content to entertain their audience and not thinking about what they're showing the people that may be mimicking what they're doing. This is terrifying. And once again, it shows why understanding these principles behind assembly and wiring and electronics is required before attempting to build anything electronic, let alone a CNC robot controller. Let's see how bad this gets.
the life of me could not solder this. This one I just got, so maybe I'm getting a little better, but
Why anyone would openly admit they're having trouble and not performing any Google research on the topic they're having trouble with, just as a baseline, makes no sense to me. And then on top of that, to continue using a process that apparently is not working, of course we don't see any flux being used. This is just to create content for the audience, and unfortunately, they're the ones that suffer.
this is proving to be quite the time-consuming process. But it's Sunday morning, so I've got nothing to do. I've done this before, and it's still difficult.
I'm not sure what he means by he's done this before, but if he means soldering, he certainly hasn't soldered correctly before demonstrating what we're seeing here.
I can't imagine somebody wanting to do this for the first time, having to learn all of this.
Really amazing he would put himself in a category that he considers himself to be experienced with soldering after what we just saw him do with ferrules.
Okay, got everything moved back outside. This is what I did for the soldering. Honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. This one was kind of difficult because
I believe this truly defines the knowledge that we're working with right here. And of course, we can see the shield drain he's holding in his hands. Guys, once again, please be very careful of what videos you're watching and what information you're going to mimic with your system.
The dimensions all seemed to be accurate. This was going well, but then after several parts, the Y-axis stepper driver cut out unexpectedly.
Okay, this content creator was doing a retrofit on a mill that he purchased again virtually for nothing. And of course, he was performing the retrofit, and you can see as the video goes on what components he's using. And now he's bringing up the point that he had a driver just unexpectedly fail. Let's see where this goes.
These are cheap drives direct from China. In the past, I bought the cheap ones and also the much more expensive branded ones.
Everyone should realize by now the reason the drives are so cheap from China is they are fire and forget. What do I mean by that? That means you as an end user, when you purchase direct from a factory overseas, they just simply mail out the unit. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But guess what? Your time, your money, your hassle isn't theirs. They can simply send you another drive until you basically go away. And that's essentially what they're doing. And if your time is not valuable, then by all means do it. But when you say that a drive is more money and it's coming overseas, I think we all know that's a farce, because realistically, the Chinese are only charging you about 40% in the US market for what typically a quality drive with a warranty and US support would cost.
As every now and then you might get a bad one. But it's still way cheaper just to order an extra spare one. Fortunately, I'd done just that, so I swapped the drive out and everything seemed to be running well again.
Okay, we can see he's already swapped out a drive because he purchased another one from China. Looking at the system build that he did, already we see problems in that there's no grounding, there's no double shielded cables, and you can see once again the pattern is forming. These are different videos, guys, different content creators, but they all follow the same patterns. This is interesting because now this guy changed out the drive thinking, oh, well, I can fix it by either putting in another drive, and he's going to continue the troubleshooting process, and we'll figure it out at the end exactly what's causing his issue.
Until the X-axis drive decided to quit as well.
So we had the Y-axis fail. He bought an extra drive when he originally purchased his drives. He decided to swap out the original Y-axis with the new drive. Then he finds out his X-axis fails. Let's think about the logic in this, and let's think about probability. To have two axes fail, as a CNC vendor, as an engineer myself, I can tell you that never happens simultaneously. If it does, there's another problem. So let's see how he identifies what's going on. We can already see here major problems. Once again, we'll revert back to no double shielded cables being used, no grounding being done. There's no ferrites installed to mitigate EMI. Everything here is simply mounted on a metal plate within an electrical enclosure, which he actually did get right. It's a metal electrical enclosure, but we see a USB breakout board. Now, I've said this before, and I'm saying it again. USB has no place at all with CNC robotics. Let's see where this goes.
What's going on here? Cycling the power clears the fault.
This is where having proper support comes in, because he could have asked the vendor, had the vendor been available for support, to find out what would be causing the issue. And this is very, very interesting what he just said. Cycling the power cleared the fault. Cycling the power means it's a USB issue, because USB is losing its signals and then it needs to be reset. And by doing so, all of a sudden everything is fine. That should have told him right there that his drives were fine, guys. Think about that for a minute. I get asked a lot of questions about drives and electronics. Let me explain something that makes purely logical sense, and many of you already know this. Electronics work or they don't. They seldom, if any, work partly. It's very, very rare you'll find a piece of electronics that just work a little bit. It's either right or it's wrong. It's on or it's off. If you find that cycling power or anything in terms of relinquishing any type of charge going to that USB board changes something in that signals then are received and sent, guess what? It'll work fine up until it errors again. And that's called a loss of connection. It happens a lot. This end user should have figured out, once again, as a content creator doing some research, that USB does this very frequently. You can do open searches and it's all over the internet. I'm shocked that he would continue troubleshooting after this. Let's see once again where this goes.
So it seems the drive is detecting some condition it doesn't like and is shutting down. There are normally 3 things that will cause this to happen: over temperature, over voltage, and over current.
I have no idea where he's come up with the 3 variables that he's determined could possibly be the cause of what he's experiencing. But let's look at this really briefly. He's got over temperature, over voltage, and over current. Guys, I'm telling you something as an engineer. If you designed the controller correctly, you would never be over temperature, you would never be over voltage, and you would never be over current because you understand what you're working with. It's purely logistical. When you're thinking about the arbitrary results that he's had 2 random drives give him the exact same issue, both experiencing a reset upon him cycling power, he should have just opened up his browser, gone into Google, and he would have done the research most people would do if they're serious about learning what they're working with, and he would have found out his breakout board is losing signals. They're being corrupted. It's so apparent, and it was proven in the previous email, and that's why I love videos like this, where guys sit here and act as if they're going through a troubleshooting process. I mean, this goes down the rabbit hole, and we'll continue watching this. But overall, he's showing his audience, once again, the 3 variables he's come up with would have been eliminated from the start had he had the proper engineering knowledge of what he was working with. Fact.
I'm running at 2.8 amps, which is well below the maximum of 4, so I don't think that's the problem. The heatsink is only getting slightly warm, but I wonder how well the driver chip is attached to it. The chip is on the bottom of the PCB. It's very small. It appears to be bonded to a block of aluminium, and that blue thing is a thermally conductive rubber pad. When the cover screws are done up, everything is pressed tightly together. That all looks okay, so that leaves over voltage as the most likely cause. These drives are rated to 42 volts.
Many content creators do this, guys. They like to bring out more detail when things get technical. It shows that, they're savvy and they're staying with it and they understand the technology. Unfortunately, in this case, all he's really doing is making a longer video to extend the content for his audience.
So I've seen the same type of drive rated to only 40 volts. I'm using a 36 volt power supply, which I thought would be safely below the maximum, but there might be occasional voltage spikes produced by the motors that are pushing it over 40 and causing the drivers to shut down. I can adjust the output of the power supply.
Okay, guys, we see some more system issues here where we see power supply terminals sharing leads. And what I mean by that is those terminals are designed for one lead only. They are not designed to have multiple leads put into them. And this we see done by many content creators because they fail to understand the logic behind adding a splitter. And a splitter simply allows you to take a terminal and allow for more terminal inputs. This is not to be done, and this is exactly why I designed my CNC power supplies designed exclusively for CNC use with built-in EMI filter, in that it does away with the limited amount of power terminals you have.
And though it will go up to nearly 50 volts, it won't go much lower than 36, only to about 32.5. This did seem to help, but didn't completely solve the problem, so it may be over voltage causing it, or it may be something else. Anyway, I decided the best course of action was just to replace all the drives with bigger ones.
I have no idea where he came up with the easiest solution is just to replace all of the drives. If the problem is present when you've already replaced the drive originally when you were having the issue, why would replacing the drives with larger drives take away those two variables from two separate drives on two different occasions? Guys, be very careful who you're learning from. This gentleman's logic makes no sense. It is a YouTube content creator's logic, though, because it was easier for him to just purchase new drives when many of his audience would be sitting there and saying, I can't afford to do that. Like many normal people, they would try to document a troubleshooting process in that he's actually going down the rabbit hole and not stopping where he tested the power supply, because what he truly defined is he doesn't know what he's doing. And he has no way of asking for help because he paid for drives at the bare minimum, and that's exactly what he got. He got the drives at a bare minimum, and he has no support.
I decided to address another issue I'd been having. There seems to be some interference on the USB bus.
I really love how he brings up now that he was having another issue, which we're being just told now about, which is the USB giving him issues with interference. It's amazing how guys leave out detail. I deal with it as a vendor all the time. I'll get a vague email, and that vague email will be missing a lot of critical details that will be essential for me to diagnose what's actually happening. And that's why I do consultations. I've said it before in many videos. Without me seeing what's going on, or any vendor for that matter, you're essentially dealing as a mechanic without the car in front of you to diagnose it. We have to look at this with a point of logic that you can't just tell me what's going on. I have to see it. This individual left this critical piece of information out until the end, and therefore we now are seeing where this is going.
I suspect it's being caused by the PWM spindle motor controller being too close to the PC.
No, your issue actually is using a USB motion controller that is an unstable platform for CNC robotics. And that's exactly what it is, due to the fact that it's not stable with signal transmission. Fact. Proven by emails, proven by just doing any type of due diligence online through Google. You'll find all kinds of disconnect issues. The issue with his PWM box being too close, or the fact that his spindle is running, this is the kind of stuff I deal with when guys message me, and just like he's doing, they try to band-aid the issue. Well, I'll move this over, or I'll check this cable here, or maybe this is too close in proximity. How about we just do things right and we allocate a budget that's appropriate to what we're trying to produce, which is a production robot. I could care less what widget you're trying to create. I've said that in previous videos. Do things right and understand the technology you're working with. If you ask for help and you want to do it right, then allocate the proper budget to do it right. Don't complain. Don't be angry. Don't make excuses. Just look at it as an investment in, number one, your own sanity, because end up chasing your tail just like this guy. And also the fact that it makes your entire journey that much more of a learning curve, because this guy is not learning anything because nothing is documented. He found this by sheer accident, and he's guessing. There's nothing here that defines he's figured this out through real documentation and trial and error or doing any research. This is why I tell you guys, the proof is in the pudding. When you watch these guys work, you can see exactly where they're going. It's to make a video longer, make a video more entertaining, and try to put things at a level of where their audience is, especially with their budget. When we all know, content creators, myself included, my budget is not your budget most likely. And I don't pretend that it is. I will tell you that right away. I invest where I have to invest, and that way my clients get the products that they deserve and expect.
The only symptom this is actually causing is that the sound effect for a USB device being plugged in repeatedly plays on the PC. But it's annoying and could potentially cause problems. So I decided to move the PC and motion controller to the other side of the cabinet.
It's really an interesting choice of words to say that it's annoying and it's a potential problem. A potential problem. So you're saying that your USB motion controller defining into Windows that a chime is being made because it finds the device and then it does it again down to every 3 seconds that chime is played, meaning it finds the device again. That has nothing to do with the signals that are going back and forth through that controller. That is absolutely ridiculous, guys. And once again, it defines that this person should not be making content on this subject other than to show what not to do. And I cannot emphasize that enough. And just to be very clear, USB, Universal Serial Bus, when you hear that chime, when you plug in an accessory into your computer and you hear that finding chime, that ching that Windows does, what you're actually hearing is that the PC found it and it's allocated drivers to that device so it becomes functional. In his case, what you're hearing with that chime being found, that's normal when you first hear it. If you hear it repetitively, it means that the device is found and then not found because it's reciprocating that same sound again, which means all of the signals that are controlled by that motion controller are basically being wiped out when it's refound. So when you think of that and to think of him saying it's a potential problem, are you serious? You just replaced drives twice. You just went through actually looking at 2 different axes, and now you were talking about moving your PWM box, and then this is doing this, but of course, this is a potential problem. I want you guys to think of how ironic that is. And again, that this guy is a content creator, and this is a guy that has an audience that's watching what he's doing and hopefully will not replicate it. Okay, guys, that wraps up volume number 20. And believe you me, these videos will keep coming as long as you guys are learning something from it. Once again, that is what we are out to do. I want to make sure that you guys are empowered with the correct information. Know what you're getting involved with. I cannot emphasize that enough. And do your due diligence. Take your time, save your money, and get it done right. Thank you all for your support. Take care.